afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cavletics, an inside look into the athletics department here at Bossier Parish Community College. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and we've got a great show for you today. With this being our first show of the 2019-2020 school year, we're going to do a review of last year and a preview of this year. With that being said, let's welcome in Athletic Director here at Bossier Parish Community College, John Rennie. John, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charlie. It was fun getting this thing going last year with Cavletics and getting a year under our belt, and just exciting to move it forward and do another year of it.
Well, we're going to start with doing a review of the 2018-2019 school year. It was quite a year for Bossier Parish Community College athletics. And John, you're entering your sixth year here at BPCC. In your previous 5 years, do you remember a more successful year in BPCC athletics than we had last year?
Charlie, I really don't. And honestly, I don't know if we've had a more successful year just overall. You look at the results that we had, and we had every single sport qualified for the postseason. That's the first time that's happened in history. And to do that, playing as a part of Region 14, is just a huge accomplishment with the competitiveness of the region and the conference. And knowing that we compete at that level, then we're competing at the national level also.
Well, starting with cross country, last year we brought back men's and women's cross country and hired a new coach in Kent Faulting. The teams moved up from Division III to Division I, and wow, I mean, what a year they had, but particularly the men's cross country team.
Yeah, it was a great way to get the program started back after taking a year off. Coach Kent Faulting did an amazing job with getting that program started back. Brought in all freshmen, of course, since we took the year off, and the men's team, like you said, they had a great year. In that year that we were off, the region added a team. Jacksonville College added cross country, so we were actually able to put together a Region 14 cross country meet, and our men's team was able to compete in that and actually win it. So created the first Region 14 championship for us.
Well, if my calculations are correct, the men's cross-country team was the first BPCC team, or athletic team rather, to win an outright Region 14 championship, as you just mentioned, and the first Cavaliers team to compete in the NJCAA national event all the way back since 1997, when the men's basketball team competed in the national tournament.
You're right, and of course that team was coached by Coach Mike McConaughey, who really got the athletic program here at Bossier Parish Community College started. I guess that span of a little bit over 20 years, we needed that appearance in a national event, and the men's team going to that event was a great experience for them, going up to Kansas and competing in that, and just looking forward to getting back to it.
Well, after reaching that height and having that kind of success in year one, if you're Coach Kent Faulting and the cross-country team, what do you do for an encore?
Well, I think the number one goal is to get back to, you want to get back to where you were. And they finished 34th in the nation last year at the meet, which for a team of all freshmen was a good appearance. But I know they want to improve on that. And then the other thing is just adding our women's team to that picture. Last year we were able to only compete with 2 girls, but he's built that up, and so we've got a full team on the women's side this year. And so, the goal is going to be have 2 teams competing in that national meet, one on the men's side, one on the women's side.
Well, in talking with Coach Kent Faulting, and I know you touched on some of those, what are some of the areas that he'd like to improve upon with his cross-country teams?
Well, like we talked about on the women's side, just getting a full team together, which we've accomplished. I think improving on the men's side, improving on their finish at the national meet. Number one, you got to get back to it, but improving on that finish. And Coach Faulting, I've talked, he's already said that his guys are just ready to really increase their intensity this year. They're working out even harder than they did in the year past. And so I think another encore goal would be to possibly have 1 or 2 of our runners maybe land an All-American spot after that national meet.
Well, and they've got a good shot at it too, John, because those young men were all freshmen last year, so they're a year under their belt and they have experience returning.
That's right, and that's what's really fun for for our jobs is seeing these kids come in as freshmen, and it's amazing the maturity that you see in just 1 year from their freshman year to their sophomore year. But just that desire that they have of going to Coach Faulting and say, hey, we want to be more intense. And so, he stepped up the workouts for them. And yeah, so they had that experience. And so when they get back to that national meet, it's not going to be all brand new for them.
Men's basketball coach Chris Lovell and his team had their best record at 19-12 for the Cavalier basketball team in over 20 years. They advanced to the Region 14 tournament, and for the third consecutive season. Give us your thoughts on what Chris has been able to accomplish in his 3 seasons here at BPCC.
Yeah, it's been a great 3 years for our men's basketball team. Chris came in, and the year before he came in, we won 4 games total. And so that first year that Chris was here, we won 10 games and made it to the Region 14 tournament, which is an accomplishment in itself. And then his second season, we won 17 games. Last year, we won 19 games. I know Chris wants to get over that 20-win plateau, which I feel confident and know that he will. But to take a program and completely rebuild it, and again, as we talked about, to compete in the conference and the region that we compete in, it's really a great accomplishment. And Chris has done a great job and has really earned the respect of his peers in Region 14.
For the third straight year, men's basketball had the Louisiana Association of Basketball Coaches Junior College Player of the Year in Eric Parrish, who is now a member of the Nevada Wolfpack. Previous winners were Lasani Johnson, who's at Grambling State, and Mubarak Mo Muhammad, who's at Louisiana Tech. I believe this validates the improvement in the talent level that Chris has made here at BPCC, something we both know that he had to do in order to be able to compete in Region 14.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at some of the players that have come through Region 14 in the past. I don't know, most notable recently would probably be Jimmy Butler, who's now with the Miami Heat in the NBA. But even as, last year on the men's side, Tyson Jolly from Trinity Valley, we got to see him in the Region 14 tournament, and what a talent he was. Our own Eric Parrish played in Nevada this year. I fully expect Eric's going to have a great year up there, and I know they're very, very grateful to have him. And then on the women's side also, just talking about talent level, it's a rich talent level on the women's side too. So yeah, Chris is really concentrated on bringing that right talent in, and it's exciting for this year that I think we've got that talent and a little bit more depth to go with it.
Is the natural order of progression, the proverbial next step for men's basketball is winning the Region 14 title and going to the national tournament?
That would be the ideal next step, absolutely. And again, we're hosting the Region 14 tournament this year at Centenary College again, and very grateful for our counterparts at Centenary and their willingness to help us with that. But to win that tournament here in Shreveport and advance on to the national tournament in Hutchinson, Kansas, it would be quite an accomplishment and a very exciting time for us.
It'd be the first time since '97.
Yeah,
it's only happened twice before in BPCC history, both, as you mentioned, with Coach Mike McConaughey. So we're big expectations for Coach Chris Lovell in the men's Cavaliers basketball team. We're going to take a brief time out right now, but stay tuned, because following the break, we'll have more with BPCC Athletics Director John Rennie. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Minds can achieve anything. We make sure they get to college. Federal student aid provides more than $150 billion in grants, loans, and work-study funds to make college possible for anyone with the mind to get there. Because if given the chance, minds will do great things. Federal Student Aid, proud sponsor of the American Mind. Learn more about money for college at studentaid.gov.
I remember the moment clearly.
I'll never forget that moment.
As long as I live.
I realized at that moment
When we first saw the damage, these people really needed us. And I was going to make a difference, right here in my community. Together with local responders, we cleared trees and collapsed walls. We had to get to the family trapped beneath. As a citizen soldier, I made a difference.
Be there for your community at NationalGuard.com. Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Cavletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, and we're visiting with BPCC Athletics Director John Rennie, and today we're recapping the 2018-2019 school year, or really athletics year, for the BPCC Cavaliers. Before the break, we were talking about the success of the men's basketball program. Now we're going to shift focus to Coach Brenda Nichols and her Lady Cavaliers basketball team. Last year was a transition year for the Lady Cavaliers, moving from you, John Rennie, as the only coach in school history, to Brenda Nichols. And like anything, when there's a change like that, there's going to be a period of adjustment and transition for both the players as well as the coaches.
Yeah, there is. And it was a transition for me as well.
Athletic director, right?
Yeah, I mean, walking by the court and going out on the court and in the games, it was interesting just to kind of see that feeling for me as far as missing the game, and I do, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I have, and the opportunity to bring a coach with Coach Nichols' resume and bring her in. And you're right, it's a transition. It's hard, and I don't know, probably made it a little bit more difficult that it wasn't a completely clean move as far as I'm not out of the picture. I'm still in the picture, but I think Coach Nichols and myself and the players, we made the absolute best of that situation. I think she did a great job handling that, and looking forward to just kind of seeing how things progress and move forward with her at the helm.
Yeah, now that she's been able to settle in for a full year, because I mean last year she didn't really get here until about August, and so there was even a more hurried, if you will, transition. But having her now, with a full year under her belt here at BPCC, I'm sure will make a difference. The Lady Cavs did make it to the Region 14 tournament last year, but I know you, and I know the way you think, and you want to making the postseason and the Region 14 tournament the norm and not the exception, not just for men's or women's basketball, but for all sports.
Yeah, you're right, Charlie. When they hired me originally just to start the women's basketball program, our first season, we won 9 games and were fortunate enough to qualify for the Region 14 tournament. And I told Karen Recchi, my boss, at that time, I said, everybody was thrilled and excited, and I was too, but I told her, I said, this should be the standard. This is what we should shoot for every year, and we've been fortunate on the women's basketball side now. 5 out of the 6 years of the program's history, we've made it to the postseason, which is, there's not a lot of programs in the country that can say that, and so we're very proud of that, and proud that is our standard now. That making the postseason is kind of what we expect and what we shoot for every year.
Well, now that we are entering year 2, what do you expect from Coach Nichols and the women's basketball program that you started after she has had that full year under her belt here in Bossier? And what do we expect from the Lady Cavaliers?
It's going to be an exciting year to watch them play. Coach Nichols was able to bring in 1 or 2 Division I transfers. It's always, as you mentioned, the transition is always interesting, and every coach has their certain type of players that they want to bring in, and so she's got her players completely now, and I know she's excited about that, and so it's going to be fun to watching them practice here a little bit and work out so far this year. I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity out in front of them, so it's going to be exciting.
Well, it's a very tough region, Region 14, as we continue to harp on. I mean, On the women's basketball side, Natasha Mack and Angelina was the National Player of the Year. So making the tournament is one thing, competing for the tournament title and a chance to go to the NJCAA tournament is a tough task.
It is. I may be a little bit biased as far as women's basketball goes. Our region is tough in every sport, but you look at it historically, and Trinity Valley has been a powerhouse in women's basketball. In fact, I was doing some research the other day, and I want to say the national champion in women's basketball from Region 14 since 2000 has come. It's been, I think we've won 7 national championships have come from Region 14, and probably 7 runners-up. And so the level of talent, level of competition is just way, way high. And so, yeah, it's one thing to compete in the tournament and another thing to win it.
Let's switch gears now and move forward. We're going to talk about Coach Amanda Nordberg Hamilton and her Lady Cavaliers softball team. Another incredible season with 40-plus wins. This is the 3rd consecutive season with 40 or more wins, which, as a former baseball coach, is just incredible.
Yeah, the success that our softball program has had has been phenomenal under Coach Hamilton. Our softball program really had a lot of history even under Coach Ashley Grisham, and Coach Hamilton has come in and just built on that. And to win 40 games, 3 seasons in a row, again, going back to the region, the conference that we play in, to do it against that kind of competition for 3 seasons in a row is quite an accomplishment.
In your opinion, why has Coach Amanda been so successful in her softball program?
I think there's a lot of factors that are involved there. She is very intense and focused, and what I really enjoy watching with Coach Hamilton is her desire to learn and to grow and to get better. And watching her coach those girls it's really, for me as a former coach, as an athletic director and administrator, it's really fun to watch. I'll never forget last season they lose out of the Region 14 tournament, and in softball it's kind of funny. Most parks they don't have locker rooms and that kind of thing, so the coaches just kind of congregate the kids and outside. So I kind of stood in the background and was able to watch Coach Amanda talk to her girls, and just hearing her encourage them after coming out of a loss to end the season. I just thought in my mind there's great things in store for us with her.
I'm assuming the hope and expectations for softball are similar to that of men's basketball, women's basketball, pretty much everybody else, but particularly for the softball program, because they've been right on the cusp of it, is winning the Region 14 championship and playing in the NJCAA World Series.
Yes, and you're right. They've been right there for the past 3 seasons. And so the next step and the goal is for them to take that next step and make it to the NJCAA Softball World Series. We're fortunate that in Region 14, the top 2 teams, make that. In fact, Angelina College, who was the runner-up in our Region 14 tournament, went on to become the runner-up at the national tournament this year. So it's, we make that next step, and the opportunities are out in front of us because we're going to compete at that national tournament.
With so much success last year, in my opinion, the most surprising BPCC Cavaliers team was the men's baseball team, or the baseball team, at the end of 2017-2018, so 2 years ago. Coach Bobby Gillum made a strong effort to upgrade the talent level in the program, and he did just that. He went out and said, hey, in order to compete, we have to have better players, and he got new coaches, new players, and BPCC baseball last year posted its first winning season in 20 years and competed in the Region 14 tournament for only the 2nd time in program history. You had to be really, really proud and excited about the strides that baseball made last year.
Yes, it was a lot of fun to watch and be a part of that. For that team to make it to the Region 14 tournament, we got to go down to Beaumont at Lamar University and watch them participate. Coach Gillum has done a great job, as you said, really concentrating those efforts and bringing in the talent level that it takes to compete. And again, we're making those strides and we're competing in Region 14, not just to compete in Region 14, but because we know if we compete in Region 14, we compete at the national level.
Well, right before we came on today, I talked to Coach Gillum for a few minutes because they're scrimmaging today, have a fall scrimmage and a full slate of fall games. But, he talked about he's got so much talent this year that he said, boy, I've been really losing sleep at night about trying to figure out the lineup and where I'm going to go. That's a good problem to have. Both of us having been former coaches, what is your expectations for this baseball team in 2020?
Yeah, I think that, again, just watching the progression that has been made and knowing the talent level that Coach Gillum has brought in, I can understand what you're saying. Like you said, as a coach, I think one of the hardest parts of coaching at any level, and especially as you move up in levels, is figuring out what that rotation is. Who do you play at the right time? Because you've got the talent. You've got the talent on hand. Just figuring out who do I put in and who do I put in at certain times. That's one of the hardest parts of coaching at this level and as the levels progress. But the expectations, I think, as we've discussed this whole show, is to get back to that Region 14 tournament and compete for that championship title and for the opportunity for baseball to go to Colorado and compete in the NJCAA World Series.
Well, and on the baseball side of things, it's split into two divisions, the North and the South, or East and South, however they do it. But when you're competing in the division that we compete in with Panola and Paris and Navarro, some great baseball teams, and I think it really did a good job of preparing them for the Region 14 tournament because they ran into one of the best team in the South, which was Alvin, as well as Wharton, and so they're baseball. Good things on the horizon for the baseball program.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right, and it's going to be exciting to watch how they do this year and how they move forward, and the division that we compete in and on the north side with those teams that you mentioned, we know every year that the talent level is going to be so strong with those teams. Our guys are going to be facing pitchers that are throwing 90, maybe even a little bit more than 90, sometimes up to the mid 90s, and so that's a fast ball coming at you.
In the short time we have remaining, tell us about how the new sports at BPCC and a little bit about what we've brought or what you brought to campus for the 2019-2020 school year and how that came about.
Well, so we're starting up this year with indoor and outdoor track. And just to kind of clarify, we're able to do that without actually having track facilities. We're not building any kind of indoor track or outdoor track facility. We're able to utilize the local high schools for practices. One nice thing about cross country and track is they're able to compete at meets with four-year schools. That being said, we had 3 of our cross-country guys last year that Coach Faulting wanted to have them run an outdoor track meet in the spring. And so we did that. The big purpose of that is those track meets are at four-year schools. They're put on by four-year schools. And so those athletes have a chance to really be seen by those four-year coaches. So I sat down with Coach Faulting. I said, look, if we're going to do this, let's really do it. And so we've got an opportunity at really no cost to the school to start new programs that bring in even more students to BPCC, and that's what we're all about at athletics. Our goal is to bring in as many students as we can to Bossier Parish Community College.
Well, it's a really big deal for those athletes to compete alongside four-year athletes at four-year schools, but more importantly, for our runners to be exposed to those four-year schools and those coaches, because that gives them the opportunity to be seen and hopefully be picked up at a four-year school.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and they're with those sports that we're talking about, cross country, track and field. It's a measurable sport, So if they're running the 100-meter dash, they're running right against these four-year schools, but they're going to look. They can look at their times and see, okay, I can compete at this level, or if my time's not just right, then I know what it takes now. I've got to get to that level. if that's what my end goal is to get to that four-year school, whether Division I, Division II, or whatever level that might be.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. John, thanks for visiting with us and giving us your lowdown and rundown of last year and the good things that we're hoping to see this year. And I think I can speak for all Cavalier fans in saying that we're proud of the progress that BPCC Athletics has made and looking forward to the new year in Cavalier Athletics. Finally, thank you folks for watching Cavletics. Join us again next Friday as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College Cavalier Athletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, bidding you a good sports day.